Let's hear more from other people on this matter. There are two friends who don't agree when it comes to the economy, especially how the Buhari government is handling it. One is of the APC, the other is of the PDP. I'm being joined from our Abuja studio by Dr. Kach Ononuju. He's an economist and a member of the PDP. And virtually, I have joining me also a member of the APC, is a political economist, Ayo Oyalawo. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on. Let me begin with Mr. Kach Ononuju. Mr. Kach Ononuju doesn't believe that the economy is being handled properly under the Buhari government. But let me ask you, a lot of experts say this is good news. Have you come to a point that you are happy for a moment for the handling of the economy by the Buhari government?
Well, you understand, the Buhari administration has failed. This attempt to manage news is a new thing we're seeing. You would have to ask the man on the street if things have changed. The story about economic progress is an attempt to divert us from the most important topic today on every Nigerian's problem, and that is the absence of security. The economy hasn't gotten well. This figure has come, and we ask, from the 1% we had in last quarter, how do come we have this jump when the foreign exchange supply to the markets have been low? Is the value and size of foreign exchange that determines economic activity. So that's if they have made policies that had provided foreign exchange to the markets, we would have seen an increase. I don't see where a decrease in supply will bring an increase when the economy itself seems to tank. So because the ABS is an institution that I've come to regard its figures, I want to wait to see the interrogated particulars of this particular report. I have seen it, but what I will ask is the man on the street, how do they feel? And most importantly, the security situation that seems to be very, very precarious.
All right. So that's a good point for us to take a break on the program. But when we come back, I will show you some of the snapshots of what NBC's report looks like today, and perhaps we might be able to interrogate it properly tonight on the program. We have some more thoughts on the program. The question is the economy in good hands? And that is what we have up next for you on the program. Under the Buhari government, our economy in good hands? We'll discuss more on the growth of the GDP, the highest we've seen in 6 years. Join us again, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the program. We've been discussing the GDP growth, which MBS, the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics report, shows that is grown by 5.01%. That is huge numbers, considering what we have seen in 2020, for example. Look at how that snapshot and that graph, how it has grown from 2015 up until what we have seen today. There was a very deep that we experienced in Q2 of 2020. Let's flip the page and show you some more on what this means. So the real quarterly GDP growth for Q2, like you see there, is what you've seen, 5.01%. And this is some in volumes. This is what you see and what you get at the moment. So we are interrogating it, what the MBS is giving and released. We showed you earlier the breakdown of the sectors and how this growth has been experienced, the biggest being the road transportation and rail. Let's jump back quickly into the conversation and get my panel to discuss more on this. Dr. Kachononuju is one of my guests tonight, and Ayo Yalawa. Both of them never agree on issues of economy, especially how the government is handling it. Kachononuju is always saying that the government is not doing well. He's of the PDP. Dr. Kachononuju, if we heard what Mr. Yusuf has said, that look, this is good news. In 6 years, we have not seen this kind of thing. But from your own point of view, you think is not enough. Some experts will say it's work in progress, and is an indicator that there might be a light at the end of the tunnel.
That's what I'm saying. It is good news, but I like to see the interpretations. I would love to interrogate this because of the value I give to the MBS record. I want to see the interpretations of this game. I want to see where the growth came from, because from 1% to 5.01% within a 3-month period, I want to see what provided the stimulus that actually forced these interpretations. And until that comes on, I will keep my reactions to myself. They have said this. I want to see what they say and then compare that to the records we have. Because if a jump in growth does not seem to reflect in the people, then you will understand. You talked about railway. You're giving it to the Chinese. What do they do to the economy to bring stimulus? No, it is Chinese labor. It is Chinese manufacturing. So we may see a jump in spending without a correlation in stimulus action within our own local economy. And it tells you when politicians make investments, how do they consider that which they do and its effect on the local economy? Because it is this kind of economic activity that should force a stimulus. Because after all, stimulus comes from an aggregation of the behavior of several players in the economy. If the people you're paying money to in transportation do not have any local effect in Nigerian manufacturing, Nigerian services, and its distribution, then this might be numbers you're quoting that have no correlation to the local activity that will force stimuluses that will gain the people. Because after all, growth in economy is the sum total of the aggregation of the local economic activities that occur within your economy. So how do you do this? How do you invest? How do you hire a job and manufacturing productivity that impacts on the local economy? You don't just gain growth due to spending and there is no impact on the local market. There is no gain from aggregation of the sum total of the economic activity. This is where you have to look at. When we were suggesting a infrastructure-driven spending that will stimulate growth, we were thinking about infrastructure in which local industry, local manufacturing, local service provider will actually help to aggregate growth, because it is that local infrastructure-based spending that brings positives in employment, in labor, and that is what you need. But when you pay money only to the Chinese and you tell us transport, Chinese labor, Chinese industry, Chinese goods and services, what do we get? I don't see that as growth. I want growth that impacts upon the Nigerian population.
Let me allow Ayo Yalawa to come into the conversation. Ayo Yalawa is a political economist and a member of the APC. Thank you so much, Mr. Yalawa, for your time tonight. You've heard your very good friend, Dr. Kachononuju, whom you hardly agree with, his own view on the situation of things. I saw you nodding your head in the negative when he was speaking. What are your thoughts on what has developed today?
Good evening, Sean. Thank you for having me. Thank you for bringing a proper economist earlier on to explain to Nigerians what has happened. That is, I think, Dr. Muda Yusuf. That's a serious and a proper economist, not a political hack who will just come and look for excuses and muddle up the waters. As far as I'm concerned, if you don't want to see good, you will not see good. Now, we have had an economy that was completely shut down for several months last year, which resulted into a terrible situation where we were in a recession. And because of our proper management of the economy, astute management of the economy by the economic managers, we came out of the recession faster than any other country, faster than most people gave us room for. Today, you know that the World Bank has said we will grow by maybe between 1 point something to 2% and thereabout, but we have done 5%. That is absolutely fantastic. But of course, somebody who will not see because what you don't want to see, you don't want to see. Now, talking about infrastructure-driven economy, I see him talking about complaining that Chinese, blah, 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 blah. But you see, these people either don't want to hear what is being said or they are just prepared to confuse the situation. The Minister of Transportation has explained to Nigerians several times that we already have Nigerians that are being trained in this train technology. In fact, we are already building what you call the University of Transport, which means we don't want to just build this train. We want to have a system where we can graduate experts in every area of train transportation. So, which means we are not just going to build infrastructure, we're going to have people who can manage it and possibly import it over time to other clients. When do you start this? It is not when you are hungry that you cook. You cook waiting for the time when hunger comes and you eat. So, but this man who just want to complain and make all these excuses, and it's unfortunate. As far as I'm concerned, there must be some basis for you to build on. The basis to build our economy on is the fact that our GDP growth is positive. And from there, foreign investors will make decisions based on what they are saying. Nobody wants to come and invest in an economy that is not doing well, but an economy that is growing. And if you look at it properly, critically, it is not just the oil sector. In fact, the oil sector did not even grow as well as you will wish. There are other sectors that are growing, which means the diversification of the economic plan that this administration embarked on is finally paying off. And we are seeing the fruit of the diversification, which means now the economy can begin to expand and grow into every area. We don't just look at oil and gas only. We look at telecoms, we look at manufacturing, we look at trade, we look at commerce, so many other areas. So for me, it's a positive growth, and I hope we don't rest on our laurels and our house on this. Every other area should be looked at so that the common man can begin to feel the effect of the growth in the GDP.
Let me ask you, because this is one area, as much as this is good news, but one worry when people complain that they cannot feel the growth of the GDP, the average man on the street, when they say that, how do you respond to that?
If you follow the trend also, the inflation rate has been dropping small by small, not as much as I will wish, but it's dropping. So which means, especially food inflation, we are in the rainy season. Anybody who knows how our agriculture is practiced in Nigeria knows that it's a seasonal thing. As we speak right now, the planting season has been done. In the next few months, weeks, there will be harvest, and gradually food prices will begin to drop. And there is a Yoruba adage that when hunger has left your problem, the remaining can be easily tackled. So hopefully when food inflation begins to drop over I'm sure by next quarter, we'll be able to record something positive in terms of food inflation When you begin to record that, then the average man can see. But you see, when we keep talking about this average man, common man, the truth is when there is a growth in the economic activity, which means so many other people are tapping into the economy activities that is being that is happening in the country. Rather than just sit down and complain, people are looking inwards. People are tapping into the value chain in the agricultural system. People are tapping into other areas of the economy. So we keep talking about this common man, and yes, truly there is common man, but if the economy does not grow, the common man will not even have any hope in the first place. So with the growth in the economy, everybody begin to look for opportunities. Let us not sit down and think the federal government or the state government will provide job for everybody. We just have to plug in and see the areas where there are needs. Fintech, many young people are making monumental leaps, doing other things. So I think we should encourage people to look at areas where they can tap in, rather than help them to look for areas to wail and say, oh, how does it affect me? GDP growth affects everybody, because if the economy contracted, nobody will invest in your economy. And if there are no investors, then there will be no business. If there are no business, you can't even start talking of this common man of food. So it is a positive growth that should now translate if everybody begin to tap into the available opportunities that are in the system, in the economy.
One area that is perhaps critical also is security, and how that will also affect either in the negative or positively the economy, and how productivity or the output in the economy, which of course invariably will amount to the figures that we're seeing in the GDP. The question is, the security situation is worrisome. And people will be asking.
Sean, let me quickly answer you. I know where you are going. You see, it is very,
you've not heard my question. You've not heard my question, Ayo. So you probably answered.
Okay, go ahead.
So the question I'd like to ask is the effect of security on the Nigerian economy, and the hopes of people having peace of mind in running their businesses under the government that promised that security will be fixed in 2015 and was renewed in 2019.
Well, if you have been following the news, which I have, the Nigerian military has recorded a huge gain in terms of the war of attrition that we have been facing in the northeast. In the last couple of weeks, we've had over 3,000 surrenders, which means the ISWAP/Boko Haram are feeling the heat. But you see, because of one breach, the entire Nigerian media went on overdrive, crying and wailing about, oh, security, oh, they've attacked NTA, oh, yes, it was a bad move. But why is nobody talking about all the pluses, all the gains that we have recorded in the last couple of weeks and months, whereby even the fighters of the Boko Haram are laying down their arms and surrendering to Nigerian troops? But you see, one breach, has become the item of news for the past 3 days. It is disgraceful if we want to see only the negative. I am not saying there should be negative, but the truth in life is that you will never have a perfect security system. We will win more and lose some. So why do we concentrate only on the one we have lost and then forget that before this breach, we have had massive wins in the in the north east. It is unfortunate. So as far as I am concerned, the military is doing their job. They are winning more than they are losing. It is painful we lose anybody, but it is a war. We will lose, we will win. But we have been winning. Why is nobody talking about all the wins? So as far as I am concerned, we have a setback, no doubt about it. But that setback is not substantial enough to throw away all that we have gained in the past couple of weeks and months. So please, let's try and be balanced in the reportage of security issue in Nigeria. God bless Nigeria.
I thought you said you have been following the news. If you have really, you would have seen on the day that the military came out with the successes and the list of what they've done. We had a full show talking about the successes of the Nigerian military and how we need to move forward. That we did right here on the program, if you have been following. But, I mean, if we stay on the issue of the economy and how invariably the Nigerian people can benefit or gain this GDP growth, if you look at the inflation figures, you look at the issue of underemployment, and the figures on unemployment rate, which had gone into double digits. Inflation is in double digits. The question is, how do we reverse this trend so that some of the gains that we have seen today will be sustained?
Thank you, Sean. A journey of 1,000 kilometers, like they always say, start with a step. When you have a good GDP growth, it is, I'm sure we all know that GDP really is the total monetary or market value of all the services and goods being produced within a country, borders, within a specific time. So if we are having a growth, it means clearly that economic activities has picked up. Now, what I just said earlier on is that in this climb, that means to do business is much easier now than this same time last year. So if everybody begin to look at where can I tap in, how can my business benefit? Now this is an opportunity. It is much better to invest in a growing economy than a stagnant or a recessed economy. So everybody should begin to look at areas they can do. Look, let's not sit down and begin to say, oh, job losses. Most times, even the way we calculate our unemployment figure in Nigeria is funny. They said we say 20 hours or 30 hours means anything less than 20 hours is unemployed. But we always forget that so many people who do there are some jobs that you do. You are, if for instance, as a consultant, you don't even have register. You could sit down in your house and finish all your job, but they will still put that as unemployed. I mean, I will have engaged the NBS to look at how to fine-tune these figures so that it will capture our reality of unemployment.
All right.
I disagree with the figure based on some of the parameters that are being used. But be that as it may, it's a good news that can translate into every area of our economy if everybody sits up and look at areas they can benefit and tap in. The economy is growing. The CBN has made it easier now in terms of if you have legitimate business to get foreign exchange. If you have legitimate business to transact, you can go to any of your bank.
Ayo, just a moment, so that we can wrap up. Let me bring back Dr. Kachi Ononuju. On the final note, Dr. Ononuju, if you can tell us, because at the end of the day, this is not about PDP or APC any longer. It's about the average Nigerian on the street there and the food on their tables. What do we need going forward to consolidate on the good news of this GDP growth?
The GDP growth figures are produced under the period of a brand new Statistician General of the country. Yemi Kale's tenure ended on the 16th of August. I repeat, the current figures are produced under a brand new Statistician General of the country appointed recently by President Buhari. The man who built the name for the institution, Yemi Kale, his tenure ended on the 16th of August. That's why I told you I want to wait to interrogate the characters of this position. If there was small provision of foreign exchange and our economy being an import-dependent one, how would you have so much with no local impact? If it has to do with transportation, as I said, I repeat what I said, despite the gentleman's stories. I want to see the thing impact Nigerians. If our politicians did not design it that way, they should design economic activities that impact the local people. That's how you get positive economic growth.
All right. Ayo Yalo, let me allow you to have the last say here What's your final word on this? Going forward, how do we consolidate on this?
Well, I will say to Nigerians that, like I said earlier on, a journey of 1,000 kilometers starts with a step. The GDP growth has shown that we are on the right track. And I will advise everyone who is a businessman, people who have businesses. These are opportunities. I mean, there are opportunities available, and that means the climate is right to invest, to do business. So people should plug in and not look at unnecessary negativity that are plaguing us. If you hear the news, you would think we are all at war, but it is not that bad. I just came in from somewhere in Abuja here. I can still move around. So businesses can run, and the positivity is such that the momentum is there for everyone to tap in and see how they can better their lives and their businesses. Thank you, Shane.
Thank you, Ayo Oyalo, political economist and a member of the APC. Dr. Kach Ononuju, a member of the PDP and an economist. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time tonight. You probably will be still talking about the GDP growth and what this means for Nigeria. But on that note, we end the show for today. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'm Sean Wakimale. Bye for now.